alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hello and welcome to Alive After Reading. I'm your host, Tim Niederreiter, and with me today is a guest returning to the show after several months since his first appearance, maybe even a year. I actually do not remember. But Blaze Ward, welcome back to the podcast.
Good for you to have me. I'm thinking it's been a year because it should have been like last summer or last fall.
That's true. Yeah, it was at least last summer. Anyway.
Everything is a blur. It's 2021.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this in the future, I don't know why you would. Well, maybe because Blaze is brilliant. But either way, if you're listening to this in the future, it may not be 2021. You know, consult your calendar if you need a current year.
I should do that now.
Yeah, it might be 2025 already for all we know. Yeah, there's no way of knowing. But Blaze, you are a sci-fi author and you write other stuff too. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourselves.
So I am a full-time, meaning I support myself entirely, indie, which means I don't do New York Trad Pub, I don't submit to magazines or anything. I just push my stuff. And I make a pretty good living as what we would call a mid-list writer. I'm not rich, but I don't have to go to work for anybody else anymore. So that's all sorts of lovely.
Yeah.
It lets me write for a living. People pay me money to make shit up all day long. I'm not sure there is a better gig out there.
I would agree with that. I just need to get to the point where I'm actually supporting myself. That's my goal. So.
And
yeah.
And I was going to say, and the best way to do that for me, and you and I have talked about this in the past, but some of the folks aren't going to remember me. I do it with what's called the production model. So I write a lot. I put out, right now I'm publishing a novel or a novel length something on the 10th of every month. Next month I'm actually putting out 2 collections that are the first 10 stories in a post-apocalyptic Central Asian. There's giant leftover Mecca. The war has been over for 30 years. The world is destroyed and people are just starting to rebuild. And it all takes place in Central Persia, Central Iran.
That's awesome. Sounds like a fun story. Seriously.
It is. It started with a picture of, nobody's sure what it was. It was if you took a fire truck from the 30s and covered the top with plastic bubble dome thing. So it kind of looked like a school bus, kind of like something else. This dude in London said it's an all-terrain greenhouse. My brain said, I should write a story about an all-terrain greenhouse. And I did, and we're 10 stories in now.
Wow. And these are short stories. So they're like 6,000 words each? 5,000 to 6,000 words each?
The first 7 stories come up to about 50,000 words, I think.
Okay. So longer than I was thinking. But
and volume 2 is only 3 stories, but they are like 11,000, 12,000, 22,000.
So some novelettes and a novella type thing. Names
basically, yeah.
Names don't really matter, but longer short stories.
Yeah, when I write the next piece, number 3, it will probably be a full novel. But that's just because the story has gotten so big that I can't tell it in bite-sized chunks anymore. Because the other ones were all bite-sized chunks.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you start with releasing these as short stories, or did you just write them as short stories and this is like the first release for them?
So I have a Patreon at Patreon/BlazeWard, all one word. And those folks get at least a short story every month before anybody else gets it, usually 6 months or a year. They've all read the first 7. They have not seen 8, 9, and 10. Some months I have spare novels, so I'll just send them a novel. Say, here's a book 1 in a series I haven't written the rest of yet. Y'all enjoy.
Wow.
I'm writing 117,000 words every month on average. A novel is 40,000 words or more. There might be 60, there might be 90. I have one that's 165, but 40,000 words means I'm writing a novel every month.
Yeah.
A novel and a half. So I put stuff out. And I write ahead because I try and write in series. I've got series right now, and that's part of the reason I wanted to talk to you and everybody today. I'm not sure when this goes live, so I'm not going to say what day it is. But I am in a story bundle, which is where you get 10, usually novels, but sometimes novel-sized collections. And they're up on the website storybundle.com for like 3 or 4 weeks. And for $5, you can get the main 4. And if you go, and I don't know what it is, I think $15 you get all 10, which is really cool. 15 to $20 for 10 novels. One of mine is a Story Bundle exclusive. I'm looking at the website right now, me and Dean, and mine is first book of a new space opera series that I'm writing. I've got 4 of them done. There'll probably be 6 of them. It doesn't come out to the general public until October. So if people want to read early can pounce on it right now and get it. Plus,
awesome.
Plus, I like.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
How long does that go? How long is that bundle going? Because I want to know.
I think 3 weeks. It ends, here we are, 17 days, 7 hours from now.
Oh, okay. So this episode will definitely be out. It'll still be available, so people should definitely check that out.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's storybundles.com/space, SPAC. And every week they spin up a new story bundle, and the last one they did was cats. I did not have anything to do on a cats bundle, but I'm going to write a cat novel one of these days.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of space opera.
I got in on a story bundle a while ago. It was like a year or 2 ago. Yeah.
Sweet.
It was a little. It was a good experience, but I didn't have a book that was followed up because I've had a lot of trouble with energy and enthusiasm in the past few years, but I'm getting out of it.
Sorry. Good.
So
Good.
Hopefully I'll be able to, like, just chemically my brain didn't work very well for about 10 years.
I'm sorry.
And but I'm getting better, and I think I'll soon be able to start following up my series, much as you're doing.
Yay!
Yeah,
that's
really my goal. You know, I just want to put out complete stories, and I can't see. I mean, yeah, I can put, and each book may be complete, but I just didn't have the energy to follow them up with more in the same series for a long time.
And unfortunately, that's what readers want right now. I don't know. It's unfortunately, it's actually fortunate because that means big, long, sophisticated stories, characters that develop over time, and things change. It's like real life. But they've watched so much television, and television does that they say, you know, I don't want one novel, I want 8. I want 1 million words to wallow in. I want spin-off characters. I want this one guy who walks in on book 1 and says one line. I want his backstory, his forward story, and his career story. I actually have that character. It was completely amazing. In book 2, he walked on to book 3. He walked on, had a few brief lines. I thought that was it. Then he got a spin-off novella. Then he became a major character through the next 8 books.
Funny how that happens, right?
The writer brain doesn't tell me these things ahead because it doesn't want me getting nervous.
You say writer brain. So how do you approach the actual writing process? Are you an outliner or a planner or anything or something else?
So the 2 general categories that we use are architect and gardener.
Yeah.
Architects are very meticulous. They build outlines, details, notes. They literally architect the entire building before they start writing it. That would drive me completely crazy.
Likewise.
I am a gardener, and I use the 7-point plot structure, which really Lester Dent kind of mastered and invented back in the 30s. Character in a setting with a problem. So I come up with really interesting characters, and I try and make them realistic and believable and human, and they have hobbies and habits and fears and dreams and whatever. Setting, because, oh my God, I write science fiction. I can invent anything I want. Bigger, better. I'm currently writing some cyberpunk that's set in the year 2024 that is super soldiers, cybernetic samurai, and government espionage. And I'm in the middle of book 2 of that. But I have a problem. Okay, good. The character tries something and it fails, and we try something else. In a short story, try, fail, try, succeed, and you're done. In a novel, you just keep trying and keep failing and keep going. Sometimes I know where the novel ends. Usually I will know how the novel ends, and I have a rough idea how many words novel should be. So I say, okay, I should end up over there somewhere. This morning I hit midway point on my novel, give or take. I was like 25,000 words, and Writer Brain finally said, "Oh, you want to know what happens in the next section? Okay." And I am a good enough writer that I can get away with letting Writer Brain do it unconsciously, and then just the words flow. When I'm in a flow state, I'm just taking a police report.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that feeling too. We've talked before, so you know I'm also a gardener, and not an architect by any means.
No.
But not that there's anything wrong with that. Some people like to do that. Some more power to them. But yeah, it's both are completely valid ways to go about it, obviously.
And for me, I'm not trying to win awards. I mean, they'd be nice, but I don't ever expect I'm going to get nominated for stuff. I have friends who write fantastically pretty words, and they are architects. They craft the stuff slowly and lovingly, and you read it and you just stop and sigh because it's so amazing. And then they go back to their job at the call center or at the mall because they're not making enough money to live on. Sometimes they get lucky and have a spouse who will support them. And I know a couple of folks who have multiple Hugo nominations who have spouses who pay all the bills because they make next to nothing in a year. They write fantastically gorgeous words. I love reading them, but I would rather not have to work.
That's actually kind of a struggle I've been having lately. Not the fantastical, not the wordplay so much.
Yeah.
But just the I like really weird concepts, and I think there's room for that if you dedicate to it. And so I just need to dedicate more. Is my theory. But if you go too weird, do you think that could be a problem as an author?
So
any science fiction or fantasy book is too weird for people.
Anything you write, somebody will like. Somebody will encounter it and think it is the greatest thing ever written. And for them, it probably will be. The key distinction is how many fans are you going to have?
Yeah.
There are some really obscure, weird, corner horror sci-fi genres that some friends of mine write in that they utterly dominate, but if they sell 10 books in a month, they consider it awesome.
Yeah.
Because there's just not that many readers in the category. I tend to write popcorn, space opera, space adventure, science fiction, and you don't see the politics and the slants until you get fairly deep into it and listen to the characters talk about what they consider good and evil to be. For me, the politics never take center stage. It's okay to have politics, but you have to tell a fun, exciting story, and then you subversively slip in everything.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there for the most part. I don't really enjoy didactic fiction a whole lot, reading it or writing it.
Exactly. And there are people that do it. It's kind of a trendy thing right now with a certain group of literary intellectuals, because I have a friend who is about as literarily intellectual as you can get, and she's getting tired of it.
I mean, a lot of the science fiction authors that I know in traditional publishing are along those lines at the moment. Actually, there's a lot of people out there who are trying to change the world, which makes sense. The world's in kind of an interesting condition. Let's just say.
And that's what TradPub is buying.
Yeah.
But TradPub represents a declining percentage of overall number of books sold on a week-by-week decline. Mm-hmm. They don't believe it. I saw a statistic about a month ago where this guy who is a shot vice president at one of the major publishers talk about how ebooks had peaked in the United States at 15% of sales and then declined over the last 2 years.
That can't be true. I mean, at least for me, I basically can't buy print books anymore. I mean, maybe that's me in particular, but I used to love books. I used to love reading print books. I can't do it anymore.
Romance.
Yeah.
The category of romance, which includes every subgenre, those people, mostly women, those women are business sharks. And I do mean sharks. They teach me things that kind of frighten me because they're so into the business side of things. For romance, total paper sales represents about 1% of all sales in romance, all subgenre categories combined. It is like 80% ebook. It is like 18% audio.
Yeah, no, yeah, that makes so much sense. And it's like, and if that isn't a hammer approaching the coffin with the final nail, I wouldn't know what is.
Yeah, but I don't expect TradPub to survive another 10 years is probably too early, 20 years is too late.
Yeah.
They'll simply be done. Already we're down from what was the big team, big 20, 30 years ago. We're down to the big 4.
Yep.
And people like me are making a living, and I had to explain this to somebody the other day. I have never had a professional sale, ever. And going back to the story bundle, that's what triggered it. There is a collection in the story bundle called Space 1975. Bob reached out to me because he wanted some funky 70s feeling science fiction. And I got paid 5 cents a word for it, and that was the most I had ever gotten paid for anything, and only the thing I'd ever written that I got paid for.
Wow.
Ever.
Oh, paid for without directly, not by readers.
Yeah. Because I don't submit to the magazines. I don't have an agent. I don't ever intend to get an agent. I go through that effort. They might approach me one of these days if I get big enough, and Hugh Howey did this 10 years ago when he kept all the ebook rights and let TradPub put out paper and made him stinking rich. Like 50-foot sailboats sailing the world rich.
Exactly, yeah. Hugh Howey had a very odd progression for an indie author, at least by today's standards.
Correct, but he was at that weird transition.
Exactly, he was breaking new ground at the time, and he was really new, and ebooks were quite new as well.
Yep, and he had a niche nobody else had tried yet. He owned it and could do what he wanted, and everybody else was trailing him. Yeah. And indie, in those days it was the gold rush. You put something out, people would buy it. Gold rush ended in about 2013, 2015, give or take. These days, it's a job, but oh my God, I'm sitting in a coffee shop in Valley, Washington. The remains of a raspberry Danish and the remains of an Americano with cream, because I came into town to make sure I had good internet. And then I'm going back out to the farm, and I'm going to write some more.
That sounds like the life, dude. I mean, I gotta say. I mean, other than necessarily living on a farm, which is not my preference, but if that's what you like to do, that's what you like to do, you know?
I'll stay out there for another 10 years or so, then she and I are talking about maybe into town, just because at that point we're going to be old enough we don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere. We want to be able to walk places, we want to be close to everything. But for your listeners, the key, if you want to break into this business, just write it. On the business side of things, understand which genres are going to make you money and which genres aren't. 10 years ago, sparkly vampires were the big thing. Everybody was buying sparkly vampire. Nobody buys that now. Magic academies were huge 15 years ago. Nobody's buying that today. Science fiction, supposedly hard SF, supposedly upswing right now, but I don't know. If you write it, people will buy it. Tailor what your expectations are about how many people will buy it, and just write a bunch. And I was telling this to one of my, I don't want to call her writing because she's a peer. She's a young writer, but she's a professional model, a concert pianist, and several other things. She's not able to write lots and lots and lots, so what she's doing is writing a whole series of interlocked short stories, and she's going to put those out one a month, or I think a month, and then collect them up and put that out as a novel-sized collection. And Amazon will see that as, hey, you've got 8 books in this series, we should advertise you. They don't have to be novels you put out every month. You just put something out every month, and if it's a series, even better. If it's all in one series, like, say, science fiction or mystery, this month mystery, this month fantasy, this month science fiction, this month Western, unless they're all the same thing, which would be interesting. Fantasy, mystery, Western, science fiction. I could actually see how to make that work. I don't want to write it, but I could see how to make it work.
I think it might. Yeah, there's possibilities there. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
You can mix and
And that's the joy of science fiction. I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. I cannot be wrong science fiction because I don't ever explain how the technology works. I don't know how the star drives work on my big ships. They just do. They have certain ways they work, and if this happens, then they break, but I couldn't tell you how they work. I don't have to. I have to tell an entertaining, exciting story that keeps you on the seat of your pants and go, okay, I should go to bed, but I'll just read one more chapter. My brother-in-law coined that phrase because he hates my guts, because he'll stay up until 2 in the morning, just one more chapter.
And then you find you read the whole series by morning.
He read the rest of it. He was halfway through the novel, and then to the end of it, read at 2:30.
Yikes! Oh yeah.
I got a really pissy.
The day after, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, I got a pissy call from him the next day, going, "You made me stay up all night." I did not make you stay up all night. You did that yourself. Yeah. That's not well. Okay, fine.
All you need
My brother-in-law is amazing.
Was more willpower, and maybe you could have resisted.
Yeah. But to me, that's the success. I have made a story that I can't. Does it get any better than that?
No, it doesn't. But also, we are out of time, and it sounds like you're, even with the coffee shop audio, coffee shop, your network is pretty spotty. But it's been really great having you. It's awesome
Lovely.
talking to you, as always. And
good to talk again.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for coming on the show. What's one of your latest works that by title that people can go find?
Strawberry Dragon, which is book 2 behind Fairchild. Just came out. It's a silly space adventure romp. Includes an 8-meter-long strawberry dragon.
Excellent. And people, don't forget to check out storybundle.com/space to find the story bundle that Blaze is currently in. And this before the end of September, or before mid-September. Yeah.
And check them out anyway, because they keep rotating through every week. There's lots of story bundles you can get.
I can't agree more with that. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having you. And as for this podcast, I still have my own pimpage to do. If you found this show through whatever medium, please leave a review. Definitely check out more episodes at mentalcellularpublications.com. And you can find my books on amazon.com or at timneedwriter.com/books. Thanks for listening. Stay safe out there, folks, and have a good week. Bye-bye.
That tears it.